that case unfolds.
Now, moving on, keeping your kids fit and healthy is a priority for most parents, but some take matters to the extreme.
In a new show called Diet Crazy Mums, mothers are proving to be just that, and the impact on their children is devastating.
Keep down.
I think my appearance and Casey's appearance and my other daughter is very important to make, well, to basically make a good impression on people.
That's tall.
That's it. Way. Casey looking good, I think, in my opinion, makes me look good.
Everyone thinks I'm not fat, but I think I am.
Where do you think you're fat?
My legs and my belly.
Your legs and your belly?
Mhm.
Which bits on your legs?
There. And there on my belly.
She looks absolutely fine to me, but there you go. Here with more on the topic is Dannielle Miller and Sarrah Le Marquand. Welcome, ladies. Look, it's hard to know how to tackle weight issues as a parent, but calorie counting for a 6-year-old, I mean, she looked perfectly healthy to me, Danny.
Yeah, it's incredibly upsetting, isn't it? And in watching this show, it's very obvious that the mothers are actually an eating disorder personified, that they are really putting their obsessive preoccupation with body size and projecting that onto their little girls. I found it really heartbreaking and actually, you know, quite distressing. I had to keep pausing watching the video that was sent across to me because it's very obvious that these mothers are going to do enormous damage to their little girls by convincing them that their size is everything.
There was another mother there of two grown women who were just saying, she was telling them that they had to join her on a diet, and that they interviewed the two of the girls and they go, I don't really want to go on a diet. The other one said, I just don't want to look pudgy, and they looked perfectly fine to me.
That was a really disturbing study too, as you say, with older girls, and they were actually being weighed in every morning.
By their mother.
And the narrator says to one of them, you know, what do you want to look like? And she says, like any teenage girl does, I want to look like a model, a skinny model. And rather than the mum saying something positive and reaffirming to this girl, she says, OK, well then let's do it.
And the thing to note there is that we're told those girls actually are within the healthy weight range, and yet their mothers, you know, one of the little girls is being weighed by her mother 3 times a day, and she's been asked to fill up on water before she can eat. I mean, it's just horrific.
It is extreme because young girls on the show, they're being forced to do 200 sit-ups, 70 push-ups, hours of cardio per day, and the mothers are arguing that they're promoting fitness. So what's your take on that?
Well, we talked about this. One of them is, as Danny says, the women themselves are eating disorders personified, and you can see this hothouse environment that they're exposing their daughters to. One of them, the mother is so obsessive and so micromanaging that you can see that's quite clear, you don't need a crystal ball, that in a few years this girl is going to completely rebel, and I would say probably go on a 5-year binge, because she has absolutely no autonomy whatsoever. So if anything, the mother is all she's actually doing, while she might, in her mind, have her best interest at heart, she's only setting her on the road for really disordered eating.
I think one of these girls is not even allowed, she's a pageant queen. She has a birthday, but the mother says she's not allowed to eat her own cake.
Yeah.
Why give her the cake?
Or she'll be punished. That's for the family and friends, not for her to consume. Look, I think the interesting thing about this show, obviously they're very extreme examples of parents with obsessive, compulsive, controlling behaviour. But the interesting thing to me is that I actually think it does provide an insight into what's happening in lots of homes. Perhaps not to this extent.
But in little ways.
In little ways. I think we are a culture that is absolutely obsessed with body size and body shape, that we are fat phobic, and that all of this talk about the obesity crisis is actually leading to situations where parents with good intentions are putting their children on excessive diets, monitoring what they do, you know, forcing them to exercise. They're not focusing on health, we're focusing on size, and we've got to stop its madness.
One of the girls you mentioned before who said she wanted to be like a skinny model, I mean, some of these girls are under strict rules because they do have blossoming modelling careers, and it could be argued that their mothers are helping them get ahead in this future career.
What is really quite obvious when you see the show is that these women haven't identified themselves outside of mothers, and they're all living vicariously through their daughters, so it's actually more about them and their goals, and they're transferring those aspirations onto these girls. So again, I think they're convinced themselves that they've got their best intentions at heart.
It does
but
seem like the
it's-
mothers are projecting so much stuff onto the kids that, you know, you wonder that something else is going on with them.
Well, some of them are very young too. One of them was only 15 when she had her eldest daughter. So she's actually still a teenager herself.
Wow.
And of course, as Danny knows, you know, at that age, you're so vulnerable to eating disorder becoming all-consuming. It's not just, gee, I need to lose a bit of weight to look good in my jeans. I mean, this is obsessive behaviour that she's living out.
And the mothers will say things like, you know, it's the only way my daughter will be loved, it's the only way I will be loved, people will judge us on our appearance. Now, they're messages that we hear all the time
Danny,
through media and popular culture.
One woman says that her husband only likes skinny women. So, I mean, that sort of projection from her own relationship to
But you know
her
what?
child.
As a culture, we have become convinced that we are judged only on our size and that that's what's going to make us happy. And that if we can achieve a particular goal weight on the scales, then everything will be great and will be loved. That's just not true.
What are but there's the teenagers that won't train unless they're supervised. I mean, what does that say?
Well,
they
they don't
want
want
to do
to.
it.
They have no intrinsic desire to train.
that's
and so
right.
they're not training for health. They're training simply for weight. And they're being put on the scales and they're being measured that way. As I said, it's madness. And it would be easy for us to look at that and say that's madness. Let's actually take it a step further and look at that and say, am I also guilty of some of this to a lesser extent?
So tips for helping mums out there create positive body image in their children. Focus on health.
Yeah, look, for my book, my first book, The Butterfly Effect, I actually wrote on this very topic, on how mothers and daughters and their relationship with body is very interrelated. So we do need to focus on health, not just weight, help our children deconstruct those media images of beauty that aren't even real. Those models are airbrushed, they're photoshopped. They aren't that size, and even if they are, they're not necessarily happy or loved. And finally, we really need to convince our children that they are more than just their bodies, they're a whole person.
Oh, well, thanks, Danny. And Sarah, you're going to stick around for another
Not sure why that
panel
show's
soon?
on television. I don't quite understand
I
that.
actually think it's really powerful because I do think it's a reflection and a mirror of elements of our culture that we need to really look more closely at.
Well, you know what? The best way of fixing a show like that and helping to fix our culture is not to watch it, because then you're not, you know, perpetuating it. Thanks, ladies, so much.
Thanks, ladies. Turning now to